What up, y'all? It's Nettertron from Nettertron's World, and today I'm going to be showing y'all how to make a homebrew magic item on D&D Beyond. Now, where to start? By choosing a base. Let's say I want to make a short sword, but I want this short sword to automatically be a +2 short sword. So a lot of magic items use other magic items as a base regardless, and especially homebrew magic items usually use a magic item as their base. So this you could see it's just a short sword. It's just a +2 short sword, and that's basically that's it, right? You would think, "Oh, I'm done." But no, this is already in the game. You don't have to do anything for this. This is not what I'm trying to show you. What I'm trying to show you is, let's say I want to make this short sword in, sorry, I want to make this short sword into something special, right? So I'm going to name this Short Sword of Disappear. Well, actually, a more accurate name would be a Short Sword of Vanishing. So the right here, this is basically the version of the game that this works best with. I play in 5e. All of my characters are from 5e. Everything, all the stats I use 5e for. I would recommend using 5e because that's what most of the books are right now. But a lot of them coming out are for going to be for 2024, or I don't remember what it's called in here. Probably I don't remember. But it's probably going to be something along the lines of like 2024 cool rules, something like that. But I use 5e, so that's what I'm going to put here. This is slightly important. This isn't really, this is more for you than it is for your player. So this is really, but I'm going to do very rare just to make sure, just to show that it's not easy to get your hands on, but it's not like the hardest thing to get your hands on, obviously. This is a weapon, so I'm going to keep it on weapon. A lot of this, if you don't choose a base, you're going to have to do this yourself. But because obviously I already chose a base, it's already in there. A lot of these are already in there for me. Sorry. This is going to require attunement, and it is going to require attunement via casting. No, actually, that's probably not for the best. Um, you want to make the attunement fairly easy, but you also want to make sure it's not too easy because you don't want them to unattune and attune to it over and over again. Um, if they don't need to. So usually you want to make it take a long time, but do something really easy. So let's say training via train. Training with the weapon for 2 hours. Boom. So that means that to attune to this item, you have to train with it for 2 hours, and then you can do all of the things that you couldn't do before. Basically, unless you attune to it, it's just going to be a normal +2 short sword. But if you attune to it, you can do the extra stuff that I'm about to add to it. You have a +2 to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. In addition, what in the world? In addition, you can cast the spell. Now, this is something important to note is whenever you want to mention a spell or a condition that a player can be in, or even another magic item, you want to make sure your notation is correct. So you're going to do um, square brackets first, um, spell, boom, banish. I think that's what the spell is called. Back to the square brackets, / spell, close square brackets. So you can see here, spell is on both sides in square brackets. The end of it will always have the /, and then you'll put the name of the spell in the middle. I'm pretty sure that's what that spell is called, but just to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and open another tab, pull up D&D Beyond, and look it up. Might be banishment spells. Yeah, so 2014 rule or 2014 rules. It is called banishment. So when I go back here, I'm going to put banishment. Banishment. Make sure you spell it right. This is important. I'll explain why this is important here in a minute. But for now, just make sure you spell it right. Make sure you put in the right notations. It is useful for your players. It is useful for you. Uh, Once per day. I don't know why. Okay. Once per day. You know what? I'm actually going to add an extra thing. You can cast the spell banishment on a target you have damaged once per day. This basically literally means exactly what it says. If you attack somebody, you can also cast the banishment spell for no additional like action cost. Basically, it's like an extra thing you can tack on to the end of doing damage once per day. It's a little overpowered. Obviously, you want to try to make sure that it's not too overpowered, but I mean, this is just for this video. It doesn't have to be perfect. And obviously, as long as it fits into your world, that's all that matters. Whenever I finish a section, I always make sure to save, just because if I finish this section and then I get halfway through this section and the website crashes or my computer turns off, or if I'm doing it on my laptop, it could even die. All of this and whatever I was working on here will completely disappear. But because I've already saved it, it's already saved to the website. This has charges, yes. It has one charge, and it has one charge per dawn. This basically just means that every morning your charge will reset. Even if you haven't used it for that day, it will continue to be at one regardless. Every morning, your sword will. Oh, why am I? I'm capitalizing things weirdly. Every morning, your sword will reset its charges on its own as long as the weapon is sheathed. This basically means that if your player is using the sword and it is currently attacking with it and it's not in its sheath, or even I would count like being in a backpack as it being put away, basically the same thing. Um, so if your character or if your player is actively using this weapon, that means that it will not reset at dawn. Um, if why am I still capitalizing things? The weapon is in use during the reset period. The weapon will reset the next time it is unequipped. Did I spell that right? I'm pretty sure I spelled that right. Make sure your spelling is right, especially if you're gonna post it or share this. Just just as a courtesy to the other people that might use this weapon or use whatever magic item you may be making. Just as a courtesy to them, make sure everything is spelled right. They might have no idea what you're talking about. Make sure to also put a weight on the item. I usually like to keep it pretty low, pretty not crazy. Um, oh, I don't know why I did that. Everything is just weight. There's no. Anyway, sorry. Combat damage. Spell. There it is. Banishment. Again, and this is another thing. This is more of a courtesy to other people. If you're the only one going to be using this magic item, or even just your players, this doesn't matter quite as much, but it is still useful. I like to do it for myself, but I also like to share my magic items and my races and really anything that I make on D&D Beyond. So I usually like to make sure everything that's just utility is filled in. It's right here: modifiers, conditions, and spells. So this is things that your magic item does. The only thing that I'm going to add to this, because it already has the bonus at 2. The only thing I'm going to add to this is the banishment spell banishment 2014 1 save DC cast at spell level. This starts at level 4, but I'm actually going to make it cast at level 6, just because it would be fairly useless once you got to like level 15 if it only casts it at 4. But I don't want to make it too overpowered and make it like 9. So 6 is a good level to keep it at. And that's actually where I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to add anything else to that. I also, you don't have to press this after doing any of these because these automatically save as soon as you close them. But I like to make sure, just as a safety thing for me, I don't want anything to disappear. But after I'm done, after I press saved, you can open it here. This is all the stuff that I put in here. This is more uh, from the 2024 rules, but this is all the stuff that I put in here. So in addition, you can cast the spell banishment, and because I use that certain notation with the square brackets, it actually pops up the spell for me, which is really nice. I actually didn't, hold on, I didn't add in there uh, the extra thing that I had said. So you can cast a spell banishment on a target you have damaged once per day. This does not require an action and or bonus action, but does still require components. Okay. Close that up. Press save. Just give it a second to save. There it is. Now we're going to go back here just to make sure everything's right. And this is exactly right. So this basically just means that after you damage a target, you can cast the banishment spell, and if you use material components and somatic and verbal, whatever, if you use material components, then it will take those material components to use this. But if you don't, which I don't personally for my campaigns, it just makes it a whole lot more grindy. I don't use them, so this isn't really going to mean anything other than the fact that if you attack somebody, it doesn't automatically without an action. But to anybody that does use components, specifically material components, this is important to put in there just to make sure that they're basically mentioned. This is it. I'm actually going to go ahead and share this to the community because I know that some people might want to use this. I don't really even see myself using this just because it's kind of a thing that I randomly made, but it'll be cool to throw in maybe a magic shop every once in a while just to say, oh yeah, they have a pretty cool looking sword. They have all it, just as a thing. Now this is a little overpowered, so I might not throw it in every magic item shop. This is more along the lines of like a Vorpal sword, but it's good to have just random magic items that you can kind of grab onto and be like, oh yeah, this is on the hanging on the wall, and if they grab it, then it could be a problem, or it could even be a whole cool thing. But if they don't grab it, then you could just use it again later. Why not? Um, Homebrewing is an important part of D&D, especially if you're using D&D Beyond. So I do recommend making your own magic items, making your own races and stuff like that. And I actually have another video talking about making a homebrew what was it, monster. And I'm doing a whole series on it. Actually, I'm going to do races next probably. So keep an eye out for that. But other than that, that's going to be it for this video. See y'all in the next one. Bye bye.